me, it was hide behind a layer of success.
Mm.
And that was my comfort zone. My comfort zone was saying, hey, you don't need to know who I am. Just know that I run 2 companies, I have a community, and I throw out a bunch of statistics. And that for me was my comfort zone. And that's how I kept myself from feeling shame or feeling
Mm.
vulnerability, which are scary words that I never want to go near. Even now, I don't want to go near them.
Mm.
So I wouldn't say that I've overcome this mentality completely, but I would say we are all on a journey of
Yes.
self-improvement. But what I've realized I I needed to understand more about what I want from myself and what these expectations are for myself.
This is Dino Delplush, your high performance coach, and it's time to level up.
Blessed love and respect, champion. I want to welcome you to another Level Up series. And in this series, we'll be leveling up with the ultimate Rachel Zhang. Okay, and just to tell you a bit about who Rachel is, Rachel Zhang is a serial entrepreneur, creative, and community builder. She helps to create opportunities for people and brand through her marketing company, RKZ Creative, and through her woman entrepreneurship community, SheUp. Her research and focus now is on entrepreneurship with authenticity and intention. And these are two of my most favorite words, authenticity and intention. Welcome to the Level Up Show, Rachel. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much. I'm excited. I'm ready to go. The weather is great. And I love the energy that you always bring to these level up shows. So ready to level up with you.
Awesome, awesome. So tell me a bit about, what was your entrepreneurship journey like? You have been quite active in this space and not only being involved in one company, but two. And I've been seeing you around the city also participating in other entrepreneur projects. So tell me, what has this journey been like for you?
Yeah, for sure. So I started my entrepreneurship journey when I was back in high school. I was around 15, 16.
Oh, wow.
And I worked on my first startup with one of my really good friends. It's an equestrian athleisure brand. So basically clothes, and we would create our products in China and sell them overseas in Canada,
Adult.
US, and UK. That was so much fun to do. And it was a great learning curve because for me, I really learned that, um, excuse me, I really learned that I think I was so afraid of being who I actually was because I was younger. My friend and I, we were both 15, 16. We were so afraid. So we would always try to hide who we really were. In emails, we would be extremely professional, extremely sincere, because we were just so terrified. And then I was also working in photography at the same time in Shanghai. I was doing a bunch of freelance projects. And at the same time, I was also super self-conscious of my age. I was so much younger than everyone. I was still working with a lot of brands and companies, things like that, because that's how Shanghai is. If you network and you present yourself in a certain way, no one really asks too many questions. And that's what I loved about Shanghai. But it's also where I found that I was so inauthentic and I was so terrified and so insecure about really who I was and something that I can't control. So then that was with my photography company that has since turned into a marketing branding company, RKZ Creative. And throughout that process, I got to work with a lot of impact-driven, sustainable entrepreneurs, and a lot of them were women. And I would have really deep, legitimate conversations with a lot of different women. And I realized that they all were so insecure about something in a similar way to how I was insecure about my age. I met women who were insecure that they were a mother, and when they would separate their identities so much that when they're at home, they're a mother and they have their kids, but when they're working, she would not mention them at all. She'd be terrified to bring up that she was even married, that she had this alter identity. And that was similar to how I felt. I felt I had my high school personality in school where I could be bubbly and fun and energetic. And then in the professional world, I had to become serious. I had to become composed, what I thought adults or professional adults are supposed to be. I didn't know at that time that you're also allowed to jump around and be excited like you are, Dino, right, with leveling up. But I was so terrified the entire time. So with that realization, me and a couple of really good friends, we decided to create just a group chat full of women sharing entrepreneurial stories, sharing tips and advice. And that gradually became a group chat with 50 people. We ran a workshop, and then 100 people. We ran an online event, and it kind of built up. And 4 years later, in 2022, now the SheUp community has over 2,000 women. We have an office in
Wow.
Hangzhou and Shanghai. We have bases in Canada, Brazil, and South Korea even. And we now have our membership programs. We have an incubator, and we are really just a community, again, of women supporting each other on our entrepreneurial journeys, because we all have that something or some things that we're insecure about. And for me personally, now especially throughout lockdown, for me, it's about authenticity. It's about embracing who I can truly be and how that can translate in living intentionally through entrepreneurship.
Yeah, wow, that's powerful. That's quite a journey, from the age of 15 years old. Like you already have so much medals on your chest. It's as if you're one of those top rank entrepreneurs in the game. And it's really commendable. And I love the fact that you really touch on the point of that feeling of insecurity and showing your true self when we're stepping into this space. Because I've also experienced a lot of clients, experiencing this, and not only amongst women but also amongst men as well. Yeah, we have been taught to shop one way in the professional space, and it makes you feel trapped. Yeah, it makes you feel trapped in your own body. So let me ask you this, as you've went through this. Yeah, you mentor other women on this as well. What was the internal struggle like? And what was some of the things that you did to overcome those struggles?
Right. So I think the internal struggle was, and this is a part of the hustle culture we're used to in entrepreneurship, right? For me, it was hide behind a layer of success. And that was my comfort zone. My comfort zone was saying, hey, you don't need to know who I am. Just know that I run 2 companies, I have a community, and I throw out a bunch of statistics. And that for me was my comfort zone. And that's how I kept myself from feeling shame or feeling vulnerability, which are scary words that I never want to go near. Even now, I don't want to go near. What that meant was I had a lot of these expectations for myself, that I had to be this person who was an excellent speaker, and I had to cultivate a community with as many women as possible. I had to get as much, I don't know, even money as possible. And all those expectations kind of ate me up. And I reached a point of burnout quite quickly, especially after high school. I was so excited to get out of high school and be a full-time entrepreneur, go meet people, run events. And I did do that. I put on 200 plus women entrepreneurship conventions, all of that. I reached burnout so quickly. And I realized it was because I didn't know why I was doing this. So I wouldn't say that I've overcome this mentality completely, but I would say we are all on a journey of self-improvement. But what I've realized is I needed to understand more about what I want from myself and what these expectations are for myself. Some people call that goal setting. I personally have never been a fan of goal setting, but I would say here, right, living more intentionally, what that meant for me was I had to unpack my goals, because I was setting my goals based off of other people's expectations and creating my expectations based on other people's expectations of me. Because, oh, Rachel is the super loud girl, she's so confident, so she's going to do X, Y, Z, and she's going to be X, Y, Z. And so my expectations of myself reflected that. And that meant I was living really inauthentically. And I just wanted to hustle to get things done. It doesn't matter what I'm doing, just get it done. Just register the company, just go to the event, put on the event. I didn't know why I was doing all these things, but they weren't even my own goals. That's what it felt like. I also realized how unattainable this really is, because we can't control others' expectations or others' perception of us. And this makes this goal in itself very self-destructive. So that's why I need to set them for myself. So it's this process of goal setting, and that I think really reflects in living with intention. And so I think that's a journey that I'm constantly on. And it almost feels a little bit like a fight, but at the same time, it feels like I'm holding hands with myself, which is quite a nice feeling. Yeah.
Wow, that's powerful. Holding hands with yourself. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. I felt like I was constantly fighting myself to be something else, right? It's kind of like when you go on a diet, right? And you're like, don't eat that. Don't eat pizza. Don't eat the pizza.
Stay away from the cheesecake. Stay away from the cheesecake.
Stay away. Right? but really create an environment for yourself to succeed. So that's something that I'm working on.
Awesome. Awesome. I heard you said something interesting around expectations, and having to living up to other people's expectations other than yourself. I remember listening to this talk with Jay Shetty. Maybe it was a podcast, and he said something like this. He said, "What's the problem is not what other people think about you. The problem is not what you think about you. The problem is what you think other people think about you." Yeah, it's like you have yourself in a double bind. Yeah, and I can see that can also lead to us even setting goals that we don't even want to accomplish ourselves. So, and I heard you hit on the point of goal setting. Yeah, it's a big thing in the personal development space. I know that you are a super Notion user as well, so productivity is high on your list. And you said that you're not a big fan of setting goals. Tell me a bit more about that. So how do you navigate this realm of going towards the things that you desire, what you want to achieve differently from what traditional productivity would say?
Yeah, for sure. So in terms of goal setting, I say that I don't like it because I think I've always felt more comfortable again just hiding behind almost blank successes, quantifiable, measurable blank successes. So I didn't want to think so internally. And maybe that's something that you're very familiar with as a leadership coach, right? You really need to understand yourself and why you want to do these things. And that was not somewhere, again, that I'm comfortable with. How I think I am moving forward in that journey is I came across this video by a wonderful YouTuber who works a lot with goal setting and productivity. His name is Ali Abdal, ALI space ABDAL, right? He's awesome.
Respect.
He has this method of goal setting that focuses so little on the goal and so much more on the journey and the process. And I know that sounds cheesy, but bear with me here because he has a lot of these questions, for example, that are like, why do you want to achieve this goal? And then who can help you achieve this goal? And what are your top 3 reasons for failing at this goal? And how do you stack the decks in your favor for this goal to happen? And I realized throughout the process of working on this that my goals actually changed. It wasn't my end goal became different. And I think that was a really reflective process for me to figure out exactly what I wanted. And that's a really big question, right? Exactly what do you want? One of my goals there are also to be a better leader, and I realized a huge part of that is understanding intention and understanding authenticity.
Brilliant, lovely. I love that you are really taking this conversation in this direction, and it's making me feel a warm feeling here because it's something that I've always emphasized with my clients. Yeah. Like setting goals are useful, but it's not important. It's useful because a goal is not the distant shore. It's a guiding compass. So the first thing that we need to do as leaders is to first identify, who do you want to be? When you're showing up as your best future self, first know who that person is and become that person. And that person attracts everything that your lifestyle want. And I think that's where the authentic piece comes in. I can really see parallels with that. So if you had to give advice for any viewers who is looking to step into this space of entrepreneur, most of my listeners and most of my clients would be leaders who are working their normal 9 to 5 and they want to make that transition into this space. What advice would you have for them stepping in?
Blessed love and respect, champion. Now, this is your high performance coach here, and I want to thank you for showing up today. Not for me, but showing up for yourself. Because every episode of this show is designed to help you get one step closer in the direction of becoming an even higher performing leader. Living in and from your fullest potential in whatever you do for those you love and for those that you serve. And we are here to help you every step of the way. Now, if you're listening to this show, I believe it's because you are ready to take your performance to another level. And that is why I've created this show as a program in my high performance leader coaching ecosystem to help you master these high performance habits with accountability, structure, and guidance from me as your coach. And it is free for you today as my listener. Join my high performance leader coaching ecosystem right now. Go to levelupwithdino.com. Again, go to levelupwithdino.com. And Dino is spelled Deano. And if you're listening to this in China or you're watching an episode on YouTube, just click the link in the description below. And remember, it is time for you to level up.
Right. I think what you just said was so powerful about goal setting being a guiding compass, and that's going back in my mind. And I think that's something that we all really need to keep in mind as entrepreneurs. I think I wish that I got to know myself a lot more before I dived into entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship it's so easy to get sucked in again and look at all these results and think that, you're trying to reach the end of the shore, when actually it's such a personal process. So I think, really listening to yourself, getting to know how you work and getting to know what kind of leader you are, I think that's a really powerful process. And again, this is something that's quite new for me as well in terms of thinking of this perspective. But for example, I think personally, I'm trying to understand my shame triggers a lot more, and when I retreat into feeling inauthentic. And one of those shame triggers for me is feeling the need to protect my projects. And how that usually manifests is I won't launch my projects. I'll just protect them by going over them over and over again, writing out a bunch of plans. I'll plan like crazy, but I'll never actually get it out there. And that makes me not a very good leader. It makes me not a very good entrepreneur either, if you look at just from the results side, but it also makes me feel, like a crushing feeling inside. And it's a lot more difficult to just get anything done. Maybe, I'd love to throw that question back at you as well. Dino, how do you think we can be better goal setters to achieve our goals? How can we think not about the shoreline, but about the pointing compass?
I really love the idea of the shame trigger exercise. And I think for me personally, one of the things that I think that help is consistency. I'll always say that it's not something you have or you don't have. Becoming a powerful leader, a powerful self, it's a practice.
Right.
So we got to show up every day for ourselves. Like, for example, right now we're in lockdown. And a lot of people are feeling, the pressure of being isolated. One of the things my favorite coach would say is that, whenever you're in a tough position, this is when life is testing your life philosophy. And when things are hard, this is the time when you need to start executing your protocols even more aggressively. And when I say your protocols, what are the things that you do that keeps you on? Whether it's working out, meditate, whether it's journaling, these exercises, because these are the things that close the gap between who you are and who you're capable of being.
Oh,
So and the shame trigger, that could even be one of your protocols, where you really, be in that meditative state and catch it before it even happened. Journaling about it. So that's powerful. That's really powerful. And let me try this. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
I love these ideas of these protocols, and that really makes me think of, again, consistency is so key, because it is, again, a lifestyle we're trying to embody. It's the pointed compass we're constantly going to. There is a shoreline that doesn't exist. And I think to go back to shame triggers, I love that you mentioned this gap of who we want to become, whether that is working out or meditating or journaling. For me, what this means is something that can be creatively recharging and can recharge you. And so one of my shame triggers as well was also suppressing what I felt was creatively recharging, because I felt guilty for something like going out for a bike ride where I wasn't going to go meet anyone, or I wasn't working or tangibly getting anything done, but it was just something for me. So one of my shame triggers is feeling guilty for doing the things I want to do. Is in this gap that you said.
Yeah, powerful. I love that the fact that you're sharing your shame triggers. I think I'll throw some of mine out there as well, because I can totally relate. You know, one of my big shame triggers was, you know, not replying to somebody's message on time, especially if they're from my community. That was a big one for me. Absolutely. As well as I used to associate yoga as something just for females. I didn't see as something macho or manly. So even though I love that flow and that artistic style, I wouldn't have done it. Yeah, so it's like, you know, when we have these, and I'll just throw that outside to the viewers as well. Yeah, what are your shame triggers? Yeah, identify what those are, write them down, and let's start closing the gap. Powerful. Sure. Yeah. I'm letting that one sink in.
Right,
because I think that was
they happen in such minuscule moments as well. Like I'm just thinking, even physically, when I'm speaking to people and I find that I want to be a people pleaser, that's when I'm not being as authentic. And one of my shame triggers there is I speak a lot more slowly, because I then start to think about what I'm saying a lot more, and I will try to get something out. So I either speak really slowly, and then I'll speak really quickly, just so I can try to get out the information that I want to get out versus what is genuine information. Yeah.
And let me ask you this: if we had a time machine, we bring a time machine here, and you can go back, what would you do differently? What would you do differently, Rachel?
I would get to know myself better, and I think how I'm doing that now is, excuse me, I'm gonna let my dog out.
Okay, no problem. Oh, it's a Shiba.
Yeah, very cute dog.
Yeah, they are.
Very. She needs to go creatively recharge as well. She's also she's living more authentically, and she's telling using my dog as an example. Right. Yeah. I think I really need to do more of was that self-reflection process, getting to know myself. I never knew how important that was. And really it was like, why would I go out and seek this for myself when it's not making me any money? Right. But it's a matter of investing in yourself. And a couple months ago, when I embarked on this journey of authenticity and self-reflection, I couldn't really do it on my own. And it took me a while to admit that I wasn't getting anywhere. I tried journaling. It didn't work. It actually put on more pressure for myself to do this and do it right. And again, that's not the point. It's not about doing it right. It's about doing it. And for me, what that meant was I had to actually seek out a mentor and a coach to help me throughout this process, someone to talk to, really. And it's a different kind of relationship, I think, between a mentor and a coach, because there's someone who is dedicated to bettering yourself. And that investment also means that if they're investing their time and energy into you, then you should be also doing the same. And that kept me accountable and kept me consistent in going on this journey. So I think mentorship, coaching would have helped me a lot in the beginning.
Yeah, that's a big one. Oh my gosh, goosebumps. I think if I had to answer that question, I would have said the same thing, most definitely. Looking back at my life personally, if I had to look at where I made major breakthroughs, is I had some sort of mentor coach in my corner that helped to keep me accountable and helped to guide me along the shows. Yeah, and I think it's perfect for the next question. Like, what, other than a mentor and a coach, which I know you have right now, what are other resources you have in your toolkit that makes your life easier?
Ooh, I think for me, my mind runs really quickly. So I love having Notion or having a notebook or something like that. Write things down. Exactly. So because I realized that ideas are amazing, but putting them onto paper, that's when something can actually happen. So that's been really powerful for me. Mentorship, coaching is a big one. And I think surrounding myself with authentic people is also really, and the people we have, especially you and I, we are people. We work with communities, we work with leaders, and as a people person, I think it's so important to be surrounded by authenticity, because that makes you more authentic, especially when we're going around and talking to so many people in one day. And in entrepreneurship, that's largely the job. You have to pitch yourself like crazy to every single person. So I like being surrounded by authenticity. It feels like a nice blanket.
Awesome. And what are some of your favorite books that you'd recommend to viewers who would have take their own authentic journey into entrepreneurship?
Yeah. So I love anything by Dr. Brené Brown. She is an incredible researcher. She actually researches shame and vulnerability. And so she has done some incredible work on it. She has, I think she has a book called The Gifts of Imperfection. I think it's fantastic. It's an easy read. It feels like she's just talking to you, and it doesn't feel overly preachy, which, by the way, is another one of my shame triggers. When I'm speaking inauthentically, then I start to preach to people. So Gifts of Imperfection by Dr. Brené Brown.
Awesome. And I'm happy that you just give one. It makes it easier for the listeners to just go and get that one, okay?
Look at that one. Start with that one.
And what's a question that I haven't asked that you believe that every entrepreneur, not even just entrepreneurs, every leader need to know the answer to?
I think a question that I love to ask in general is, how can I stack the decks in my favor? And I took that question from Ali Abdaal's goal setting method, and I found that I think I use it a lot in my everyday life, because it shifts the momentum of thinking into, what can I control? Especially during lockdown, there's so many things that we can't control. We can't go out, we can't order food, we can't meet people the same way as before. But thinking, what can I do right now for me to get to point B, or to, do what I want to do? And sometimes, and I love how open-ended this is as well, because sometimes that means I just need to sit down and take a breath. And that's how I'm stacking the decks in my favor. Because again, we can't control others' expectations of us. We can't control others' perception of us. We can't control what happens outside, but we can control ourselves. So what can we do to make sure that we can succeed?
That's powerful. I love that. I really, really do love that. Yeah, and I just want that to sink in. Yeah, I really want that to sink in to those who are listening and those who are watching. How can you start the decks in your favor? Yeah. And let me ask you this, Rachel. What's one thing that most people don't know about Rachel Zhang?
It's a lot of heavy things. Maybe I will say that I have a lot of energy, and that's something a lot of people know. You know what? I'll say I think I'm actually not a super social person. I think I can be social, and I think I'm very extroverted, and I love talking to people. I generally do, but I think inside I'm actually not a very social person, and I realize that. I think I used to use socializing as well as another barrier of success. I really enjoyed solitude and holding hands with myself as well. Something I didn't expect to enjoy as much, but I still want lockdown to be over, but I'm not as I think a lot of people think I am.
Oh my gosh, wow, that's a big one. That's something that I can so 100% relate with. When I tell that to people find that so weird. Like, I can literally, when this lockdown started, this was so not a problem for me personally, like, because I'm so good at being alone. It's crazy, which is weird. you know. So it's really, really, how to say, it feel warm to hear you saying that. Yeah,
Yeah,
we can still use our energy and being extroverted as a tool, while
exactly.
acknowledge that, yo, I love being by myself.
There you
people,
go.
I don't
Yeah,
really like being around people all the time. Yeah, so
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. Being loud and energetic and everything, that doesn't mean you're extroverted. So
yeah, yeah,
we'll take
yeah,
class, and I.
yeah. And it's interesting that you also said that I had a conversation with someone concerning this behavior of mine as well that you can totally relate with. And at a point, I start questioning my authenticness. Yeah,
Mhm.
I was wondering, am I really being myself when I'm being that, outside, energetic, expressive? And I realized, of course I am,
Yeah,
because the introvert in me also want to be that person. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Awesome. I love that. I love that you can really recognize that for yourself and
yeah.
how you work. That I think as a society we try to divide everything into a black and a white and like a
Mm,
you're introverted and you're
yeah.
extroverted
Mm,
and you're someone who seeks help and you're someone who receives help and all of that. But we're such a rainbow, we're such a mixture of everything that
yeah,
there are no rules, boundaries there.
powerful, beautiful. We are all rainbows.
Really.
Uh, where can the viewers get in contact with Rachel Zhang if they love to learn more and get more involved in your work? I know you're doing a lot of amazing work here in the city in Shanghai and all over the world. So where can our viewers connect with you?
Absolutely. So my handle on almost everything is Rachel K Zhang. That's RACHELKZHANG. That's on Instagram. That's my website, www.rachelkzhang.com. That's Twitter. That's LinkedIn. And SheUp community is SheUp, SHEUP community.com. And you can find us anywhere as well. I also, by the way, I noted that you also pronounced it Zed Dino, which I appreciate as a Canadian. Yeah. So Z for American viewers, ZHANG.
I just got that. I just got that. I was like, wow, she just internationalized her last name.
Exactly.
That's dope. That's dope. And maybe for those of you who don't really get that, because in China, ZH is Zhang. And if
Yeah.
you're not from China, because I got that as well, because when I was going to Hangzhou, that was a
Mhm.
big, twister for me with the tongue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Yo, get connected to Rachel and you know what's up. You've heard her story, you know what she's all about. And it's really time for us to step in to ourselves authentically. I want to really thank you for showing up powerfully with me today. I really enjoyed this conversation. And thank you for leveling up with the tribe.
Thank you so much, Dino. Thank you for leveling up.
Blessed love and respect, champion. Now, this is your high performance coach here, and I want to thank you for showing up today. Not for me, but showing up for yourself. Because every episode of this show is designed to help you get one step closer in the direction of becoming an even higher performing leader. Living in and from your fullest potential in whatever you do for those you love and for those that you serve. And we are here to help you every step of the way. Now, if you're listening to this show, I believe it's because you are ready to take your performance to another level. And that is why I've created this show as a program in my high performance leader coaching ecosystem to help you master these high performance habits with accountability, structure, and guidance from me as your coach. And it is free for you today as my listener. Join my high performance leader coaching ecosystem right now. Go to levelupwithdino.com. Again, go to levelupwithdino.com. And Dino is spelled Deano. And if you're listening to this in China or you're watching an episode on YouTube, just click the link in the description below. And remember, it is time for you to level up.